Hi everyone, I'm Matias Letelier, illusionist mentalist Matias. That's how I'm known on the magic world. I always make a joke about how I came here, which is like, I was in Chile. I met my wife. She's from the state. She went down to Chile to study abroad, and then she brought me back as her souvenir. And it's a fun little one. So like the first thing that they will ask you, like when you have a kid, is like, oh, is he gonna be a magician like you? I don't think like kids are a projection of you, and it's not like a good thing to make them like that. But it's like, hey, I always said if he's interested in cards, it's like amazing. If he wants to do, he will have access to all the knowledge. So, but I don't want to force that into him. However, every time that he comes to the office, he takes a deck of cards and he starts playing with them. He takes them out, then he puts them back in, he turns them over, then he groups them. So, and they're like, hey, are you gonna use him in your show? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, wait, he's playing with cards. Maybe I can use him in the show. So there are two things that I do in the show which are really fun. The first one is like I ask the audience to help me wish my son good night. So his name is Zane. So I said, hey, can you say with me, good night, Zane? And we do this whole thing, good night, Zane, and I send that video. And then after that, I introduce him. I said, like my son, sometimes he helped me, and then I make him part of the show. And he's like, yeah, no, look at this. He's playing with these cards. He's turning cards face up, face down. And right after that, I said, yeah, no, he put all these cards in this box, and I brought it with me. And then that box becomes a prediction. So that way, when he grows up, I can be like, hey, even though I was not there with you, you were always with me in every single one of the shows. I have all these videos of people saying good night, saying. So it's kind of like a way of like being present when you're not present. Does that make sense? It's difficult. And actually, I asked one of my friends that, hey, he has two sons, and I asked him, what's the best advice that you will give me as a father who also performs? And he's like, hey, when you're at shows, you're at shows. When you are home, you are home. And I think that was the best advice that someone has ever given me in terms of like parenthood, which means like, yeah, when you're at shows, hey, you're at show. But once you're home, forget about shows, forget about like the answering an email, just be with your son. And of course, like it's difficult when I have to travel, I have to be some days away, or even at night when I'm not the one saying good night to him. And especially because when I'm with him, he likes to come with me. We have a whole routine. I put him to bed, then he has all these animals. He chooses one, and then I turn off the light, and then the animal jumps somewhere. So he's right here. Turn off the light, then turn on the light. Now he's right here. Then I'm like, oh, he's right there. I turn on the light, then I put it on my head. I turn on the light. He's like, oh, now he's here, and then he laughs. So I make him laugh because for me it's like I always think that when kids go to bed laughing, it's like it's way better than have them going crying, which is awful. But it will happen sometime that they don't want to go to bed and like, ah! So I try to turn that energy away. So then we do all these fun things, and then I will grab the light is off. I will throw the lion in the air. I will turn it on, so he will see the lion going like woo, and then he disappears. So then I turn off the light. So it's such a fun moment that we have with him that he knows that every time that I'm there, he's waiting for that moment. So it's a way for him to like kind of like balancing this out that he has been with my wife all day. Now it's daddy time. So basically, like the kids, they do this thing that they balancing out. So if they spend all day with one of their parents, then they like to spend time with the other parent. In my case, with me at night, if he has been with my wife during the day. So they do this thing where it's like, oh, mommy, get out of here, daddy, come here. And it's a whole balance thing that they do. So, yeah, so at home we have a rule, which is I only talk to him in Spanish, my wife in English, and between both of us we do a little bit of French. So I will tell you, based on my experience, at the very beginning, I remember I was learning tricks. And then I met one of the most important magicians back then in Chile. This was when I was in Chile. He's like, oh, show me what you can do. And then I showed him something, and luckily I had like a little bit of good skill, but what I didn't have was knowledge. And then he asked me, have you read any books? I'm like, no. It's like, do you know, he asked me about very specific questions and I have no clue what he was asking me. And then I realized that magic is like, when you get into magic, you're like, okay, yeah, I need to learn this trick here, here, here. But magic has like 4 different components. One is the trick itself. It's like, yeah, you learn the trick. But the second one is the theory, which is like, why are we doing that trick? Why are we doing that trick the way that we are doing it, and how we can improve that trick? What's the connection with the audience, etc. And many more aspects about the presentation. Then you have like the presentation skills, which is everything about like the performance. And then you have like the connection with the audience, and then and there are a few other things like the marketing part, and but that would be something else. But in order to have like this pillar really strong, it's not just about learning tricks. It's also about learning like the theory, the presentation and communication skills, and then how to perform those and present those, and the different techniques that you will gain in order to work on those tricks. So it's more like learn tricks, but also try to get into some powerful books that will shape the way that you do magic in a way that you will soon learn that it's not going to be about you. It's going to be about like this interaction with and this sharing, showing and sharing. But it's more like when you there is an expression that one of my mentors, René Laban, is like, he's called it the beauty of the astonishment, which is like, you know, it's not about like me showing you how cool I am. It's more about this experience where you and the audience get to experience wonder and astonishment. And I think that is way more important than it's like, oh, I learned the best, like the coolest trick. Let me show you how cool I am. I think that's one thing that young magicians should do, like learn from like other people, and learn to like presenting the tricks, not just showing the trick. Everybody can show a trick, but magicians will turn that trick into a miracle.